Goaltending. Goaltending histories being what they are. I'm about halfway through the league now. A little bit past half. And I thought, yeah, all right, let's do the Rangers. Because the Rangers are a very stable team. This should be pretty easy. And honestly, it kind of is when it comes to the Rangers goaltending since 1967. So that's the cutoff is 1967. So anything in the expansion era. And let's see that for a Rangers team that hasn't necessarily been a top team for a lot of this time, their goaltending has been pretty steady. 67-68, Eddie Giacomin plays 66 games. Nobody else reaches 20. Goaltender has to reach 20 to get on the board. 68-69, Eddie Giacomin plays 70 games. Again, nobody else reaches 20. 69-70, have I mentioned Giacomin plays 70 games? Because he did it again. It's very consistent. 70-71, Giacomin and Villemure. 71-72, Giacomin and Villemure again. 72-73, Giacomin and Villemure. And then Giacomin and Villemure. And then Villemure is the guy who gets the starter minutes, followed by Giacomin in 74-75. So from 67 to 75, Eddie Giacomin is the guy. That's it. For New York Ranger fans, that's a Hall of Famer right there. And he had been with the team, I'm pretty sure, before 67 as well. 75-76, John Davidson comes in out of nowhere. And John Davidson has a pretty nice run, too. With Dunk Wilson as the backup the first year. Second year, it's Gilles Gratton as the backup there. And Davidson is the backup to Wayne Thomas in 77-78. Davidson gets starter minutes ahead of Wayne Thomas in 78-79. 79-80, well, that's the year that John Davidson's the starter. And Steve Baker's the backup. And then it's Sotart as the starter and Baker as the backup in 80-81. Doug Sotart had been apprenticing as a backup a couple of seasons before that. He'd get into half a dozen to a dozen games before that, but he didn't play enough to get on the board. 81-82, Weeks is your starter. That's Steve Weeks with Eddie Mio as the backup. 82-83, Eddie Mio is the starter and Hanlon is the backup. 83-84, Hanlon's the starter and Weeks is the backup. So number of goaltenders coming through for the Rangers at this point, but that won't last. 84-85, Hanlon's getting starter minutes with that Van Beesbroek guy as the backup, and then they switch spots in 85-86 with Van Beesbroek being the starter. Beezer would still be the starter in 86-87. Bob Froese is the backup. He had come over from Philly. And they're the goaltenders in 87-88 and 88-89. So very stable goaltending in New York. And this is why when people, have this obsession with we need to switch that goalie and this goalie and that goalie, it drives me nuts. And I've seen it a lot with Vancouver that, we need to get this and to get that. I don't understand it myself. Just you've got decent goaltenders, stick with it and try to fix other parts of the team. Van Beesbroek and Richter are your goalies in 89-90, and that is your tandem all the way through until 92-93. So again, very solid goaltenders. 93-94, it's Richter and Healy. And Richter and Healy are your goaltenders for the next 4 years, right up till 96-97. 97-98, Mike Richter plays 72 games that year. Nobody else gets into 20. 98-99, it's Richter and Kluche. That's the only time Kluche shows up on the board for the New York Rangers. A first-round pick that's going to go to Tampa and then end up in Vancouver. Richter and McLean are the goaltenders in 99-2000. I remember how weird that looked. Kirk McLean backing up Mike Richter. And this is only 6 years after the Stanley Cup Finals where they were against each other. So their relationship wasn't as contentious as Thomas and Luongo is what I'm saying. 2000-2001, again, it's Richter and McLean. McLean moves on in 01-02. And in 2001-2002, it's Richter and Dan Blackburn. And Blackburn was seen as being the future number one goaltender. She never really got there. 2002-2003, they bring in Dunham. And Dunham's your starter with Blackburn as the backup. And the following season, it's Dunham and UC Markkanen. So Markkanen, before he's going to move on to the Edmonton Oilers, was the backup in New York. Then you have the lockout, and coming out of the lockout, there's this new goalie in net named Henrik Lundqvist. And this is where it's the Lundqvist show, because from 06-07 through to 2010-2011, he plays 70, 72, 70, 73, 68 games. Backups don't get 20 games. 2011-2012, Marty Biron barely gets the 20-game mark, so he gets on the board. 2012-2013, Lundqvist plays 43 games. That's the lockout shortened season. No goalie projected to be in 20 games that year. Lundqvist and Talbot are your goalies in 13-14. It's Lundqvist and Talbot again in 2014-15. 2015-16 and 2016-17 is Lundqvist and Ranta, both seasons. 2017-18, Lundqvist played 63 games. Now, Pavlik played for them, but Pavlik played 19 games. And I'm not going to change the cutoff just for that 1 year. But because of the fact that they ride their starters, they rode Jacquemin. To some extent, Richter that 1 year. Really, honestly, Richter was a split games goalie. Played about 50, which kept him fresh for the playoffs. But Lundqvist is an absolute workhorse. So seven seasons for Lundqvist. His backup hasn't got into 20 games, which just made the numbers pretty favorable for the New York Rangers. Jacquemin and Vilmer are a tandem that lasts 5 years. Van Beesbroek and Froese, 3 years. Van Beesbroek and Richter, 4 years. Richter and Healy, 4 years. Remember, there are teams that I've had on this board that haven't had a tandem that's lasted 3 years. And going into this year now, Lundqvist is still the starter, and now we're looking to see who's going to replace him, which one it's going to be that's going to take his spot. Jacquemin's there for 8 years. Davidson for 5. Van Beesbroek for 9. Richter for 13. Healy for 4. Lundqvist 13. This is year 14 for Henrik Lundqvist. They've had 25 goalies, which is a tie for the lowest number with the Montreal Canadiens. And since 2000, they've used 10, which is not the lowest number, but it's not anywhere near the highest either. So very stable goaltending for the New York Rangers. We'll see if that continues when Lundqvist's career is up. We will see if we look back on this as the most stable it ever was, and if there's going to be some turmoil from here. Because there could be. It's possible. The potential is there. But again, once, as always, I'm not necessarily surprised by the result, but I'm impressed by the result. Very solid goaltending for the New York Rangers, even for teams that weren't necessarily playoff teams and struggled at times, and maybe they came up short. Other than 94, they haven't been in a position to actually. They've been in the finals a couple of times, but to actually feel like the favorites and like they were in 94, they haven't been there. But their goaltending sure looks like they have. And at least, that's one part of the roster that there wasn't a whole lot of turnover. But let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.